Listen to the voice in your head right now. You hear words, shaping your reactions, processing the script, and narrating your environment. We treat that constant stream of mental static as the primary substance of our consciousness. We operate under a deeply ingrained assumption that to think is to speak silently. We believe that if you stripped away our vocabulary, the mind would be empty. Philosophers like Ludwig Wittgenstein famously declared that the limits of our language define the limits of our world. For centuries, our intellectual history has treated grammar as the inescapable fabric of human cognition. But those words are a learned habit. Confusing an acquired dictionary for your native mind is a pervasive illusion, one that conceals how your brain actually operates. Before you acquired your first words, your mind was already highly active. In the first few months of life, a human infant exists in an ocean of raw, unedited sensory input. This continuous wave spectrum shows how the pre-linguistic brain processes the world through pure gradients of feeling. Without hard borders between joy, surprise, and fear, the mind processes staggering depth. Researchers call this pure qualia, a state of infinite emotional resolution. But feeling every minor fluctuation of your environment all at once is paralyzing. It is a chaotic flood of data for a creature that needs to find food, avoid predators, and survive. To navigate that overwhelming reality, the human brain desperately needed to build walls, a way to segment and capture the chaos. We built those walls out of syllables and syntax. Vocabulary developed as a compression interface, a way to package raw biological states into discrete, actionable items. Sharing our minds requires forcing vast, fluid potential into rigid, standardized shapes. I cannot transmit my exact neurological state to you. I can only offer a word that approximates it. This is the mechanism of compression. When you force a nuanced physical sensation through a shared label like bad or stressed, the filter strips away the unique resolution of that feeling. We are now forced to cram giant nameless emotions into tiny second-hand words. We use the same few tired syllables to describe entirely different shades of sorrow, awe, or dread, generalizations that keep our internal world manageable, but small. In our attempt to connect with one another, the tool of expression became a trap of conformity. The architecture of language dictates the borders of what we can consciously grasp. We have treated language as an irreducible medium, the ultimate and inescapable boundary of human development. If you do not possess a specific word for a complex feeling, your mind struggles to map it. The sensation becomes a blind spot, an unmanageable ghost that you can suffer through but cannot easily solve. Society and history have long used this linguistic architecture to restrict thought, silencing any reality that does not fit into the dominant vocabulary. We mistake the limits of our inherited dictionary for the edge of the universe itself, but the walls are an illusion. Deep beneath the constant mental chatter, the raw machinery of the mind still operates in perfect silence. Researchers call this unsymbolized thinking. It is the experience of a profound flash of logic or a deep intuition that occurs entirely without the use of words, images, or syllables. The brain solves complex problems and grasps sudden epiphanies by bypassing its rigid language centers. The logic is processed first. The words are merely the delayed, incomplete echoes. True cognition is not bound by grammar. We think in a silent, high-resolution language that the vocal cords can never replicate. Imagine what would happen if that artificial alphabet were to suddenly melt away. Removing these linguistic labels deconstructs the rigid categories we have used to organize our modern reality. Without the compression of words, we are left face to face with the terrifying and beautiful truth of our unfiltered existence. The most profound truths of the human experience can never be spoken. They are felt only in the heavy, quiet spaces between our thoughts. If you're ready to listen to the silence, hit subscribe and walk the unwritten path with us.